Alright, part 2 of the Rastakhan Rumble Spoiler Majubi. We're doing Hunter. Springpaw. Springpaw, this card is insanely good. This card is so fucking good. It's like Firefly, but it has Rush. And Rush is really powerful, and Firefly is really powerful. And combining two really powerful things into one card is really powerful. Also, it's a Beast, and Beast and Hunter are really powerful. And Beast with Rush and Hunter are really, really powerful. So, they have a lot. If you're playing, I played a lot of Beast mid-range Hunter. I've been one of those people for the past year. And Crackling Razormaw, Houndmaster, and Dire Frenzy really, really reward you for having Beast on the board. And being able to play a Beast, like, Scale Height has been good for this, obviously, with, like, Dire Frenzy. You play it and you buff it and you have big swings. But just having, like, a really shitty Beast body, like 1/1 is nothing, but the ability to buff it and do something immediately cannot be overstated. Like that is huge, and you get to do that twice. Like even just playing this as removal, just like turn 2, kill a 3/2 with your 1-drop, and you feel fine. Like this card is just amazing, possibly the best Hunter card in the entire. I'm just gonna say Springpaw is the best Hunter card in the entire set. I don't know about the best 1-drop. There's the new Zombie Chow, but it's definitely up there. This is one of the most powerful cards in the set. The Beast Within is kind of a weird one. So Beast buffs work better when they're either like on a minion or they're just really insane, like Dire Frenzy. So this one's sort of hard to evaluate. Historically, these like 1 mana buff a Beast cards have not been good, but this buffing it and giving it like a pseudo charge effect, or even a pseudo Wind Fury effect if it's already on the board. I don't know. It's very intriguing, and we are gonna have big beasts in the curve like Cave Hydra and Ornery Tortoise, that can survive and have additional upside with this. I think this card's actually probably pretty good. Maybe not like a 2 of in a Beast deck, but it's probably worth trying at least as a 1 of. I think it'll be pretty reasonable. But the fact that it attacks a random enemy minion helps it a lot. The fact that it never goes face makes it much more easy to control. I think this card's actually probably pretty good. Headhunter's Hatchet. 2 mana, 2/3 weapons are good, but they're underwhelmingly good. Like, you don't ever see Stormforged attacks anymore. Obviously, that is overload. But I think if they just printed a 2 mana, 2/3 weapon, I don't think it would make a lot of waves right now. There's not a lot of 2 health minions. Yeah. So, the fact that you have to work to get that extra durability, I think this card's pretty mediocre. Like, obviously we had Glaive Zuka back in the day, but that buffed the attack of your minions, and it help you snowball better. This is just kind of meh. I might be surprised. Maybe it's better than I think, but it's a very underwhelming card. Revenge of the Wild, I think, has been kind of overhyped a little bit, or maybe a lot. I don't know. This card's really hard to evaluate. So unlike normal resurrect effects where you're trying to make really big things, this I think you just want to trade in a bunch of stuff and then get the stuff back for very, very cheap, right? And Beast Hunter already has a good beast curve. You have like Dire Mole and Springpaw on 1, you have Crackling Razormaw and Plated Beetle on 2, you have Ornery Tortoise and Cave Hydra on 3, and so on. There's no shortage of good beasts. You even have like the spells, Animal Companion and Unleash, obviously. So if you have beasts on the board, you trade them into your opponent's stuff, and you play this, you feel really, really good. Even if you're just getting back like a 3/2 and a 1/1, that's still a pretty good use of mana. Like, it's not, as far as bad cases go, that's not so bad. The problem, I think, is that the other big, like, board-centric deck to beat at the moment is probably still Baku Rogue. And Baku Rogue's turn 2 play is to kill your stuff. And then their turn 3 play is to also kill your stuff. And so you can't really trade your beasts into a 2/2 weapon on your turn, and I think that makes this card a lot worse just because of the meta that we're in right now. that might shift, which makes this kind of hard to evaluate. But like, if you're thinking about this right now, it's like you play Spring Paw and then you Razor Maw your Spring Paw, and then they just like kill both of those off and then play their Hint Clan, and you have nothing to trade in, and you feel stupid. Because instead of having another minion to play, you have a Revenge of the Wild with no ability to use it, and then you lose the game. So I don't know. And then against board-centric decks, I don't know if you really need an effect like this because you just have Deathstalker Rexa, right? So you just wait until you get that, and you win that way. I don't know. It's a very interesting card. I could see this being very powerful. I would not get your hopes up that this card is like the next Messiah of Hunter. I don't think it's that good, if only because of the current state of the meta and what you'd be up against and how efficiently they can counter what you'd want to do with this. Bloodscalp Strategist we already kind of went over at the end of the last video, but just to recap it a bit. So like 3 mana 2/4 is pretty bad, but it's not terrible. Having a weapon equipped in Hunter is pretty easy to achieve. You want to be playing Candle Shots, and you're pretty happy to play Eagle Horn Bows. So it's not too hard, I don't think, to meet the conditional consistently. And then when you discover a spell, there's some really good options. But the options are mostly really good if you have beasts on the board. There's a lot of spells. You don't need that. You can hit like some secrets, some removal and stuff and be happy. But a substantial part of the card pool rewards you for having the board, and specifically having the board with beasts. So if you put this and the weapons in like a beast mid-range shell, and it's hard to say how consistently you're going to meet all of these conditions coming together. But the payoff is there. So I think this card is definitely worth trying. I'm going to try it out on release. Excuse me. Why am I so gassy? What the fuck? But yeah, it's... Let's just move on. I'm just burping my way through it. Master's Call. I thought this card was actually insane when I first saw it, and I thought about it, and I don't think it's actually that good. So Stitch Tracker is just like a better version of what this is normally, right? Because you get a 2/2 with it. Arguably, it being a minion kind of changes things. And actually, as I say that, this is actually probably really good in Wild to discover Barnes. So you have exactly Barnes and Yasharaj in your deck, and you could probably fit in like 2 Master's Calls and consistently have Barnes on 4. That's what I'm doing, man. Yeah, I actually just thought of that right now. That makes perfect sense. So in Wild, I think this card's actually really, really good in that. That's not even a bad deck. I played it just like a month ago. It's just Spell Hunter, except sometimes you have a 10/10 on turn 4. And that's pretty cool. So now you'll have a 10/10 on turn 4 much more often. Yeah. Oh, well, the problem, if you're discovering Barnes, though, sometimes Barnes misses. So hey, that's not even that good. I don't know. Anyways, in Standard, I don't know how good it is, because it's kind of worse than Stitch Tracker. If you get the Beast trigger, it's really, really good. 3 mana draw 3 is insane. The problem is that if you're playing a Beast deck, there's a lot of minions you want to probably be running that aren't Beasts. So like Houndmaster, obviously. You probably want to look at the new Spider Tank that buffs Beasts and you draw them. You probably want to look at Capped Mana, although she gets worse if you're running lots of small Beasts. Stuff like that. There's just like a lot of minions you'd want to look at that aren't Beasts. It's kind of hard to fill out a minion-based deck with only Beasts. And if you have basically any in your deck, this is actually going to fail a pretty reasonable percentage of the time. And if it's failing, then it's a bad version of Stitch Tracker. And if it's a bad version of a card that's not singled out to play, it's probably not that good. Spirit of the Lynx, I think this card is just terrible because it's so expensive. It's so expensive for what you get. So the best way to evaluate spirits, I think, is to say you're going to use them the turn you play them, and you're going to use them the turn after, and then they're going to die. So to use this the turn you play it, you've already spent 3 mana. So you're either waiting really late to buff a minion by 1/1, or you're playing it like on turn 4 with a 1/1 to make a 2/2 or something. It's even like at the earliest, it's coming down too late to do anything. You know, at the earliest you're playing it, it's too late for giving one thing +1/+1 to matter. And if like, and then on the next turn you can get the buff maybe multiple times, but it's still like, I don't know. I can see it with like Unleash, but there's better things you can do with Unleash. You could just play Timberwolf and be so much happier than this thing. Yeah, very, very slow. If it costs less, or if the buff was bigger, this would be good. But I think it's just a terrible, terrible card. Baited Arrow, kind of mediocre. It's a worse version of Flanking Strike. If you need more copies of Flanking Strike in your minionless Spell Hunter, then maybe you look at Baited Arrow. But I think it's a pretty underwhelming card. It's very hard to kill. It's very hard to find a target with 2 or less health. Right now. It's just hard to do that. So it's just not going to be good a lot of the time. Consistency is better, and Flanking Strike's more consistent. That being said, like sometimes you want more copies of a good card, and you go for the bad versions of it. So it might see play. I think it's a bad card, but it might see play anyways, just to fill out slots in the archetype. Halazi's really cool. I don't think you play this on 5 for when you overdraw, and 2, it's just a 3/2 beast, and that's bad. But it's sort of like a choose effect, if you want to think about it that way, or like an X. A lot of card games have X mana costs where you can scale it up. I guess Hearthstone had it with like the forbidden spells, right? This is sort of like that, where the later you play it, 1, the more links you probably get, but 2, the more links you can play with it. So if I play it on 6, I can charge in 1 guy. But if I play it on 8, I can charge in 3 guys, which is probably killing, something more meaningfully. On turn 10, I can charge in 5/5 worth of rush minions, divided up however I want to pretty efficiently clear some stuff, and then probably still have some links left over to ping away stuff later. I don't think this is like revolutionary, but it's a super solid removal tool that just pads your deck with more beasts. So if you're playing like a beast mid-range hunter and you want to just fit in a little more beasts, a little more removal, definitely look at this. It's not like the greatest thing ever, but I mean, it can make 9/9 worth of rush stats, which like that's a lot of rush. Like that is a fuck ton. I guess it can make 10/10 actually, right? If this is the last card, yeah, it can make 10/10 worth of rush stats. Yeah, I think this card's pretty good. Zul'jin is weird. Zul'jin, I think, is the first hero card ever printed that is actually worse because it's a hero card, which is fucking crazy. But this is a really, 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 really good battle cry. Really, really crazy good battle cry. It's like Yogg and Tess and N'Zoth and all those. But you have even more control. This is like the most control. I guess N'Zoth, you have a lot of control. So it's like tied with N'Zoth, where you just have so much control over what you're getting. I guess even more than N'Zoth, because it doesn't stop at 7, right? Or I guess 6. It just plays everything. So you know exactly what is going to get played. You don't know the targets, you don't know the order, but you know exactly what's going to happen, and that makes it very, very, very powerful to build around. You're going to develop... Hunter spells do a lot. You're going to have a bunch of secrets. You're going to develop a lot of minions. You're going to kill a lot of minions. You're gaining at least 5 health. It's doing a lot of shit for you. Very, 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 very powerful card. Definitely worth 10 mana. That being said, this hero power... this hero power is not bad. Okay, being able to shoot things with your steady shot is quite powerful. But... there's a 6 mana hero card with a slightly better hero power. Just slightly better. It's only like the best hero power in the history of the game. It's just slightly better. And it comes down before this, and it's really, really awkward. Like, if you're playing a Spell Hunter, you definitely want Rexxar. So the deck that wants this wants the other one. So it's really awkward. You can always play Zul'jin first and then Rexxar. It's gonna be awkward where there's situations where you Rexxar first, and then you just never want a Zul'jin. And maybe that's okay. Maybe if once you've stabilized with Rexxar, maybe you just don't even need. You can just afford to hold on to a Zul'jin in case you're desperate enough to play it and just beat them with zombies. So maybe that's not even a downside. I think it's just really awkward. If this were like a 10 mana 1/1 that didn't even give you armor, they just took that off, just made him a 10 mana 0/0. He can die instantly. Just be a minion. He comes down. He says his line. He instantly evaporates, and then the spells happen. So much better. It's just such a better card. This is such a weird design. Obviously, when rotation happens, he's going to get a lot less awkward because he's going to be the only hunter hero card. But still, it's just a weird card. But I think it is quite good. It's just very awkward. That's all I'm saying. Also, I'm a little surprised that Hunter got the hero card this time around because they have one of the best hero cards, arguably the best hero card, and it's still seeing heavy play. I think I vaguely was Zul'jin in like the original Warcraft, like RTS games. I vaguely remember Zul'jin being in like Warcraft 2. This name sounds familiar, and I haven't really played much WoW at all. So this might be like a notable character in the lore, and that's why they did this. That being said, I thought for sure Paladin was getting the hero card this time around. I staked my name on it, and now I look like a fool. So fuck Blizzard. Paladin should have had the hero card. This is complete bullshit. But it's a cool design. It's just awkward. That's it. See you in Part Mage.